It's finally happening. We are approaching one of the most emotionally intense and spiritually decisive days of the year, August 15th. This isn't just another Friday on the calendar. It's a divine check, a moment where heaven watches closely and every word, every reaction, every shift in your energy carries spiritual weight. Whether you see it yet or not, you are being positioned for something greater. And as always, the final test won't come from obvious enemies. It will come from the ones closest to your heart, the people you love, the ones you confide in, a partner, a parent, a friend. On this day, they may become the vessel through which your deepest triggers are touched. Not to destroy you, but to show you where healing is still needed. August 15th isn't about conflict, it's about divine correction. And this is why, chosen ones, you must not argue, even if they misinterpret you, even if they press your buttons or challenge your truth. The test isn't about being right, it's about staying aligned. The moment you defend your ego, you risk blocking your elevation. This test isn't sent to harm you, it's sent to promote you. If you've been feeling tension rise, if conversations are becoming heavier, if people are revealing sides of themselves you didn't expect, know that it's not random. The veil is thin. This is your opportunity to pass the test, not with words but with wisdom. And I'm going to explain exactly how to do that and what signs to look for in just a moment. But first, if this message already resonates with you, take a second to like this video, subscribe for more divine insight, and drop the number 777 in the comments to activate spiritual protection and alignment for what's coming. Now let's go deeper. August 15th won't look like a test. It won't come with a warning label or a flashing sign that says, "This is the moment." It'll be subtle. It'll feel familiar. That's why it's dangerous. The closer the person is to you, the less you'll see it coming. A comment, a tone, a reaction. That's all it takes. And suddenly, your spirit feels shaken. Your emotions rise. Your peace starts slipping. And that's the signal. The test has arrived. It's not just about what's being said to you. It's about what's being stirred within you. Because the enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to distract you. He doesn't need to bring chaos into your life. He only needs to tempt you to create it with your own words. That's why you must be mindful of what comes out of your mouth on August 15th. Because not every battle is yours to fight. Not every comment deserves a response, and not every emotional impulse needs to be followed. You're not being called to prove your point. You're being called to protect your purpose. Think about this. The greatest shifts in your life didn't come through loud moments. They came through quiet decisions, times when you chose to walk away instead of react, times when you chose peace over pride. August 15th is one of those moments. It's not about being passive, it's about being powerful enough to walk in restraint. That is spiritual maturity. That is divine alignment. And here's what most people don't realize. When God allows someone close to you to push a button, it's not because he's punishing you, it's because he trusts you. He trusts that you've grown enough to respond differently than you would have a year ago. He's not just testing your emotions, he's showing you your evolution. He's letting you feel how much you've changed. But to see that, you have to pass the test in silence. This test is not about them, it's about you. Your reaction reveals what still needs healing. Your silence reveals what's been mastered. Let me ask you something. What if this entire interaction is a setup for your next breakthrough? What if this one moment, this one conversation is the gateway between who you were and who you're becoming? Would you still argue? Would you still need to win? Or would you finally realize that silence is the victory? Don't let temporary offense steal your eternal progress. Don't let ego win when your spirit is trying to evolve. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, especially not on a day like August 15th, a day chosen in heaven to mark the beginning of something new. Now here's what to do. When the moment hits, and it will, pause, take a breath, tune in to your higher self. Ask, is this worth my peace? Ask, what is God trying to show me right now? Because I promise you, there's a message hidden in the moment. There's purpose in the pressure. Maybe they don't mean what they say, maybe they do, but either way, you're not responsible for their behavior. You're responsible for your reaction. You're responsible for what you choose to carry and what you finally release. And chosen one, maybe August 15th, is the day you release the need to be understood. Maybe it's the day you stop explaining yourself to people who were never equipped to understand your assignment in the first place. Maybe it's the day you rise above the emotional chaos and walk into the next chapter with peace as your shield. Remember, your reaction is a declaration. Let it say, I'm ready for more. Let it say, I trust God more than I trust my emotions. Let it say, I'm not who I used to be. Because when you pass the test, something shifts. Heaven takes note. The spiritual realm recognizes your readiness, and what was delayed will begin to flow. Why? Because God can trust you with what's next. And trust is proven intention, not comfort. So let them talk, let them twist, let them test, but don't let them take you off course. This is why you can't argue on August 15th. This is why silence is sacred. This is why peace is your promotion. And this is why the closer they are, the more necessary it is to pause before you respond. You've come too far to go back now. So breathe, hold your ground, and let heaven do what only heaven can do. And if you've been wondering why now, why August 15th feels heavier, more emotionally charged, more intense than usual, it's not just your imagination, it's written in the stars. Astrologically speaking, we are walking straight into a powerful energetic shift. The days leading up to August 15th are packed with cosmic tension, aspects that stir the emotional waters, especially in our closest relationships. Venus is retrograde. The planet of love, value and connection is moving backward, not to punish us, but to reveal the fractures in what we thought was stable. This retrograde is pulling truths to the surface, and when love is tested, so is identity. But that's not all. Around August 15th, the moon moves into a position where emotions become magnetic, sensitivities are heightened, intuition is screaming, and yet clarity only comes to the quiet mind. If you're not grounded, you'll mistake a trigger for a truth. You'll think your feelings are facts, but the spiritual ones, the awakened ones, will pause, observe, and align before acting. And there's more. Mars, the planet of aggression, conflict, and drive, is dancing too closely with Mercury, the planet of communication. That's a volatile cocktail. That means arguments can spark from the smallest misunderstandings, words cut deeper, tone matters more than content. Everything feels personal, even when it's not. That's why the test will feel emotional, but it's actually energetic. What you're feeling isn't just about what's being said. It's about what's being activated inside of you. Childhood wounds, old betrayals, unfinished healing. These transits don't just show up in the sky, they show up in us. And if you're not aware, you'll think you're just having a bad day. But if you're tuned in, you'll know this is spiritual strategy unfolding through cosmic timing. That's why the person closest to you might say something that feels like a dagger. That's why your body might tense up even before a word is spoken. You're not imagining it. You're feeling the ripple of energies that began long before you woke up that day. You're not just in a conversation, you're in a portal. August 15th opens that portal, and how you walk through it determines whether you repeat old patterns or rise into new ones. So the argument you're tempted to have, it's not random. The urge to set someone straight, not coincidence. The sudden emotional waves, the tears out of nowhere, the anger that feels too big for the moment. All of that is the astrology doing its job. It's showing you what still needs your attention. It's showing you who's aligned and who no longer is. It's showing you that you can't carry the same responses into a new chapter. That's why the spiritual and astrological energy on August 15th is screaming one message loud and clear: do not react, transmute. Don't match their energy, master your own. Don't fight fire with fire, become water, flow. This cosmic pressure isn't here to break you, it's here to bless you. But only if you can pass through it conscious and chosen one. If you've been feeling off, overwhelmed, unsure of who to trust. This is why the sky is stirring, what you thought was buried, not to haunt you, but to heal you. So what do you do with all of this? What do you do when the skies are heavy, the heart is tender, and the person across from you feels more like a test than a connection? You don't react, you rise. You rise into awareness. You rise into emotional mastery. You rise into stillness that speaks louder than any defense ever could. Because on August 15th, stillness isn't silence, it's spiritual alignment. It's the moment you choose to feel without feeding the flame, to observe without absorbing, to trust that just because a wound is reopened doesn't mean you're being destroyed. It means you're being rebuilt. This is what Venus retrograde wants from you: re-evaluation, reassessment, realignment. Who do you give your energy to? Who do you open your heart to? Who gets access to your inner world? And most importantly, what version of you shows up when your heart feels threatened? You may think this is about that one person, the one who said too much, or not enough. But it's not. It's about you, your center, your self-worth, your inner compass. Because here's the truth. The cosmos is whispering. Not everyone is meant to walk into the next season with you. Not every bond can survive when your vibration shifts. Not every relationship can stretch to match the soul that's expanding. So if it feels like people are pulling away, if you feel misunderstood, or suddenly distant from the ones who used to know your every thought, don't panic. You're not being punished. You're being purified. You're not falling apart. You're being refined. The astrology of August 15th is the crack in the old foundation. But it's also the opening for light to pour in. That's why tension shows up in your closest circle. Because the divine wants you to look there, to listen, to learn, to feel what's still holding on, even when it's no longer serving you. But don't misunderstand this as a call to cut people off recklessly. No, this isn't about ego. It's about energetic clarity. It's about not trying to convince someone to understand a version of you they've never met. Because that version was born in the silence you chose the last time you didn't argue. This is how the cosmos works. First it tests your boundary, then it reveals who respects them. Then it asks you to choose comfort or calling. And on August 15th, you'll feel the choice in your bones. You'll feel it when someone's words hit too deep. When your nervous system tightens before your mind even catches up. When your hands want to reply, but your spirit says, wait. Listen to that voice. That's not fear. That's wisdom. That's alignment. That's what gets heaven's attention. Because while everyone else is losing themselves in emotional chaos, you'll be holding space for grace. While the world reacts, you'll reset. And that quiet strength, that spiritual stillness, that's what opens doors no argument ever could. And here's the part they don't tell you. When you pass this kind of test, the silent, internal, invisible kind, the universe responds immediately. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's real. The moment you choose peace over pride, clarity over chaos, alignment over argument, you shift timelines. That's not just spiritual poetry, that's energy in motion. That's divine law responding to frequency, because energy is a language, and silence, when rooted in awareness, not avoidance, speaks it fluently. You see, when you choose not to engage in the emotional battlefield set up by cosmic forces, you're doing more than avoiding drama. You're signaling to the universe, I'm ready, I'm stable. I'm no longer ruled by old wounds. I can be trusted with higher assignments. And that's when the shift happens. That's when doors start to open with less resistance. That's when answers you've been praying for begin to arrive. Synchronicities, signs, sudden clarity. That's when the weight lifts. Even if nothing around you has changed, because you've changed. But if you fall for the bait, if you argue, react, spiral, you don't get punished. You just get delayed. You stay in the same classroom, retaking the same test, wondering why the blessings are stuck in traffic. They're not. They're waiting for the version of you that knows how to hold them. So August 15th isn't about avoiding confrontation for the sake of being passive. It's about upgrading your spiritual authority. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to fight every battle, because they know they're already winning the war through presence, peace, and perception. And here's where the astrology weaves back in. The tension of Venus retrograde is not here to destroy love. It's here to redefine it. Mars and Mercury don't want you to explode. They want you to become aware of where your reactions still own you. The full moon energy around this time doesn't rise to tear you open. It rises to reveal what's been hidden in your emotional basement. So if you suddenly feel old emotions resurfacing, if someone says something that shouldn't hurt, but somehow it does, if you find yourself triggered by a pattern you thought you healed, that's not failure. That's divine exposure. It's God saying this part of you is next. Because healing doesn't come through suppression. It comes through recognition, through breath, through sacred pause, through the conscious decision to no longer be who you were trained to be in chaos. August 15th is like a spiritual scan. The cosmos are holding up a mirror, not to shame you, but to free you. But and this part is important, that freedom isn't handed to you. It's earned, not through effort, but through awareness, through the maturity to feel everything and still choose peace, through the wisdom to say, not this time, I've seen this loop before, and I know what it cost. Because at this point in your journey, you're not just protecting your energy, you're protecting your destiny. The blessing that's forming isn't surface level, it's sacred, it's built on peace. And peace doesn't coexist with unnecessary conflict. So when the moment hits, and it might be subtle, or sudden, or disguised as something innocent, remember who you are now. You're not who you were 6 months ago. You're not the person who used to over-explain, overreact, overgive just to be seen, heard, or understood. You are clear, you are aligned, you are chosen, and chosen ones don't respond from the wound. They respond from the wisdom that the wound gave them. This is your new standard. Not everything gets access. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not every comment is worth your clarity. Not every battle is yours to fight. And the ones who are meant for you, they'll feel the shift. They'll meet you at that new frequency. The ones who aren't, they'll resist. They'll pull. They'll try to drag you back into the old script. You don't owe anyone the older version of you, just because they're still comfortable with it. So how do you protect yourself during this kind of energy? You don't need anything elaborate or mystical. You don't need sage or crystals, or long prayers, unless your soul leads you there. What you do need is intention and stillness. Because when the spiritual atmosphere is heavy, the most powerful thing you can do is move intentionally through it. On the morning of August 15th, before you check your phone, before you respond to anyone, take 5 minutes with yourself. Breathe, feel into your body. Ask, what does my spirit need to feel safe today? Then set a boundary out loud, gently, clearly, to yourself and the universe. Today, I choose peace over pride. I will not allow external chaos to disturb my internal clarity. I am not here to win argument. I am here to protect my alignment. You'd be surprised how much power a sentence carries when it's spoken with awareness. Next, become a watcher. Step into the day like an observer of your own life. You don't have to anticipate conflict. But you do have to stay conscious. Notice how you feel around certain people. Pay attention to how your body responds before your mouth does. The body always speaks first. Tension in the shoulders, a tight chest, a pit in your stomach. That's data. That's your soul saying, be careful here. And when a moment comes, a comment, a confrontation, a heavy pause, choose not to fill it. Choose not to match the frequency being offered to you. Instead, transmute it. That doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means channeling it upward through breath, through prayer, through walking away, and letting your peace do the speaking. Because not every storm must be stood in. Some storms are passed through by staying still. You can also ground your energy physically on August 15th. Make sure you're hydrated, eat whole foods if possible, touch the earth. Even 5 minutes outside barefoot on the ground sends a signal to your nervous system. You are safe here, you are not being attacked, you are being tested, and tests are always temporary, and if you're someone who journals, write it out. If emotions come up that you don't know how to express, let them flow onto the page. Not every emotion needs to become a conversation. Sometimes writing it is enough to clear it. Sometimes clarity arrives only after the storm of the mind has settled. And here's a spiritual truth most people overlook. Energetic discipline is a magnet for divine movement. When you show the universe that you can hold your center when chaos knocks, the universe says, now they're ready for more, ready for better, ready for what they've been praying for in private. Because the people who make it to the next level are never the ones who fought the loudest. They're the ones who remained anchored when it made no sense to stay calm. And if part of you is asking, what if I mess up? What if I do react? What if I fail the test? I'll tell you this, even awareness after the fact is still growth. Even catching yourself mid-reaction and choosing to pause is still a win. Even apologizing, resetting, and doing it differently next time is progress. You're not called to perfection, you're called to presence. And maybe that's the entire invitation of August 15th. Not to be perfect, but to be present enough to choose differently than you did last time. Because when you respond in the old way, you stay in the old timeline. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you remember who you are in the face of who you used to be, you shift, you break loops, you evolve in real time. And that's the true miracle. Not that you become someone else, but that you finally remember who you've always been beneath the fear, the defense, the ego, the old identity. You were never here to win argument. You are here to embody divine alignment, to protect your frequency like it's sacred, because it is to let peace speak louder than your pain, and to let the heavens know, I'm ready. This is the path of the awakened. It's not the easiest road, but it's the one that leads to real freedom. Not freedom from others, but freedom from yourself, from the old self. The one that had to be loud to be heard, the one that had to prove to feel worthy, the one that chased closure, attention, validation, and called it love. But now you're walking differently. There's a calm in your bones that didn't exist before, a stillness in your reactions, a sacred pause in your spirit that whispers, not this time. I've outgrown this loop. This is spiritual mastery. And no, it doesn't come from books, titles, or teachings. It comes from doing the hard thing in the quiet moments. It comes from standing in front of the trigger and choosing peace anyway. It comes from letting go, not because you're weak, but because you know holding on costs too much. And August 15th is a doorway, not just a test. A portal, a checkpoint in divine time. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. Just walk through it as the version of you who finally trusts the process enough to let go of the performance. Because you've done the work. You've healed the layer. You've cried through nights no one knew about. You've forgiven people who never apologized. You've risen after things that should have broken you. And now this is your moment to prove it. Not by fighting, not by reacting, but by embodying your evolution. And when the person closest to you says something that stings, when the old dynamic resurfaces, when your body starts to shake and your chest tightens, stop, breathe. Remember the bigger picture. This isn't about them. This is about your legacy, because the version of you that reacts is not the one God is trying to elevate, but the version of you that responds with intention. That version holds weight in heaven. That version gets entrusted with what others only dream. You may not realize it now, but your discipline in this moment is setting off a ripple effect across timelines. You're not just passing a test, you're rewriting a karmic pattern. You're ending a generational loop. You're choosing to carry a different frequency forward, one that doesn't scream to be seen because it knows it's already chosen. And chosen ones don't chase what's theirs, they attract it by remaining in alignment with the divine. That's why the old energies are resurfacing now, not to punish you, but to make sure you don't bring them with you. August 15th is clearing the path, but you have to walk it in awareness. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, when the test arrives through the familiar voice, the old dynamic, the emotional sting, know this: your power is not in how loudly you speak. Your power is in how clearly you see. And when you see through the moment, when you choose the higher road, when you refuse to give your peace away, that's when the shift begins. You won't need to announce it. The universe will know. Heaven will take note. And the energy that's been waiting on the other side of this test, the people, the opportunities, the alignments, the clarity, will begin to move toward you faster than you can imagine. Why? Because energy moves at the speed of decision. And August 15th is your moment to decide. They won't see it. They won't even know it's happening. They'll go about their day like any other Friday. But you'll feel it. Not in the sky, but in the silence between words, in the shift of someone's tone, in the way your heart picks up on what your mind can't explain. You'll feel it, behind the eyes of someone close, in the space between their love and their judgment. You'll feel it, when something simple suddenly stings, and your whole nervous system whispers, "This isn't about now. This is older than this moment." That's the test. August 15th carries a thin spiritual veil, a rip in the usual rhythm of time. The sky won't scream, but your soul will know. You'll feel the weight in your chest before the words even leave their mouth. That's how you know it's been sent, not by them, but through them, because the closest ones are always the vessels. Not because they're evil, not because they intend harm, but because they are trusted by you and by Spirit to deliver the assignment. And here's what you must remember: the real test is not in what they say, it's in how still you can remain while something ancient inside you begs to speak. Your old self will want to rise, it will want to protect, explain, correct, plead, perform. But the part of you that has grown, it will breathe, it will stay with the pain long enough to understand what it's trying to teach. It will hold the silence like a shield, not as escape, but as sacred authority. Because this is not about the other person, this is about your frequency, about what you are willing to no longer carry, about what no longer gets to trigger access to your center, about who you are without the reflex of reaction. The sky on August 15th is not just aligning planets, it's aligning timelines. Every conversation is a fork in the road, every emotional charge is a portal, and you, chosen one, are being asked, which self do you want to take with you into the next chapter? It's subtle, it's quiet, it's sacred, and it's easy to miss if you're not tuned in. But you're tuned in. You've been feeling it for days. The disorientation, the emotional static, the sense that something is shifting just below the surface. You're not wrong. It is, and this is your moment to respond differently. Not perfectly, but consciously, not passively, but spiritually. Not loudly, but deeply, because this isn't about silence for silence sake. It's about returning to a center that no one can pull you from anymore. It's about anchoring into a wisdom that only lives in the quiet. It's about passing through the storm without letting it inside of you. And when you do that, when you choose your center over your trigger, you won't just be passing a test. You'll be walking into a reality you were always meant for. And when you realize what this test truly is, when you feel it, not just in your body, but in your bones, you'll understand that this isn't just another emotional moment. It's a moment of becoming. Not louder, not stronger, not more impressive, but more whole, more clear, more unshakable. Because at some point, you stop fighting the world, and you start mastering your own frequency. And that's what this moment, this Friday, is asking of you. It's not asking for performance. It's not asking for perfection. It's asking for presence. The kind of presence that says, I see the trigger, I feel the pull, but I choose not to play the old role anymore. I see the bait, but I choose not to bite. I feel the pain, but I no longer build homes inside of it. This is you remembering who you are before the world told you to prove it. This is you walking away, not in defeat, but in discernment. This is you letting go, not to lose, but to make room. Because spiritual maturity is knowing when to stop explaining yourself. It's trusting that what is aligned will never require you to shrink to be accepted, or to raise your voice, just to be heard. And that's the level you're entering now. You're no longer here to convince anyone. You're no longer available for cycle. You're no longer letting emotional chaos be your compass. You're walking with God now, with awareness, with silence that speaks volumes, with alignment that no energy can twist, with vision that doesn't need external validation to feel real. And the ones who can't hear you unless you're yelling, they were never meant to walk with this version of you. The ones who only feel safe around the version of you that over-explains, over-gives, over-sacrifices, they will not survive your rise. Let them fall off gently. Let it dissolve without drama. Let them think what they want. Your peace is too expensive to spend it proving your heart, because your heart already knows, your spirit already knows, and heaven has already marked the shift. August 15th is not just a warning, it's a preparation, it's a graduation, it's a spiritual filter, separating the noise from the message, the false from the aligned, the reaction from the realignment. So now ask yourself, and ask honestly, who do I become when I stop defending myself? Who do I become when I stop responding to every voice but my own? Who do I become when I stop feeding the fires that were only sent to distract me from the light I carry? The answer to those questions is who you truly are. And that version of you, she's coming. He's rising. They're arriving quietly, fully, unapologetically. And once you become that version, there is no returning, only expansion, only embodiment, only full spiritual authority.